to be. And now, more than 30 years later, she's returned to the places and scenes that shaped the swinging 60s. Those really were all our yesterdays.
Yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away.
I met John when I was 18 at art college. My first impression of him was that he was a troublemaker. He was rebellious and sarcastic and just seemed to be interested in playing the guitar and acting the fool. Well, this particular room, of course, is the art, the life class, which is where the model would sit on the podium and we would all come in with our drawings and paper and choose the spot that we wanted to choose. And of course John would always come in late. He would always get chewed on like a lecturer. But he got used to it and he didn't mind because basically he was anti-establishment anyway. Even though John gave this image of being aggressive and frightened a lot of people off, I think there was something very endearing about him, especially when he used to play his guitar and sing Sweet Little 16. I mean, nobody could resist him. Of course, they're loving music and art, the two combined, and that was it for me.
Love, lovely do. You know I love you.
This brings back fantastic memories for me. This is our first home, given to us by Brian. I was expecting Julian, we just got married, and this was where Lovely Do was. We first heard it on the radio, and we knew the fact that it was going into a video. It was a wonderful, happy time for us. Ringo, it was the first time I met Ringo in this particular room. It sort of changed, obviously, but John, his favourite was Has to Be Collier Nights, followed by Banana Budgies. Ringo missed out on that Blue Collier Nights, but then we got rid of him all at that point. So that was our first introduction once he took arms. Yes, we had a home in life, and this was the start that really did. It was very exciting. I suppose in some ways this was the inspiration for me to record Those Were the Days. We'd spent 10 years of very intense life together, and I still wanted to achieve something for myself. Looking back on it all now, we had no idea that we were living history. But John was a one-off, absolutely unique. Maybe he's looking down on me now saying, good on you, Sid.
I bet
Terrific stuff.
Cynthia, lovely to see you.
Tear to the eyes.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, looking at all the girls in that particular clip there, you're the only one who hasn't changed.
Oh, thank you.
Your hair is as modern now as it was then, because they all had the bouffant, but you always had the long blonde hair.
I think what you do is you stick to what you feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
And, you know, I always thought, like the Beatles thought in the early days, we would never be on stage when we're 30. I always thought that I'd never have long hair when I was 50, but I still have. So.
And now a first record.
Yes.
Why wait till you're just over 30 to have a first record?
Oh, over there. Right. It was pure chance, pure chance. Like meeting John was pure chance in many ways. It was fateful. And I think that, in fact, it happened very strangely. It's a long story, but I'll cut it short.
But have you been a sort of a frustrated singer all this time? You thought, well, he's doing so well, I can't sort of climb up on the platform of it and just
No,
wait.
I had no true ambition to. I mean, I was in a Hoyley Parish Girls' Choir when I was between the ages of 10 and 13. And I used to go to choir practice twice a week, and I eventually got a solo part, which was singing Who Is Sylvia, What Is She?
Yeah.
And that was the pinnacle of my sort of stardom.
Singing career.
Yes. And then, of course, I being an artist, I wanted to go to art college, which I did, and then I met John, and everything changed for me, obviously. And probably the best thing that happened then was meeting John and having Julian.
You knew him a while, though, didn't you, before you actually became an item? You were friends.
Yes. Oh, very good friends, yes. Very close friends. Yes, we were, in fact, we were together for 10 years, all together. But we were going out together for 4 years, before the Beatles actually became famous.
But you were kind of opposite as well, weren't you? Because you were the quiet one, and John, as we all know, was far from quiet.
Yes, well, they do say sometimes that opposites
Must have been the case.
but really deep down we were opposites in many ways, because we both came from similar backgrounds. John appeared to be a rough, heavy boy, But he was living in Auntie Amelia, a very respectable family house in Liverpool, and I was living in a very respectable semi-detached house in Mallorca. And we both had the love of art and music, and we also had the tragedy of losing a parent. So underneath all that.
Because this is the thing about John. Underneath it, he was a very, very complex sort of person.
Yes, he was. He had a lot of
You didn't know the
complexes.
half of it at that stage, did you? Mind you, nobody knew the half of it.
No, thank God. But, you know, it's artistic people, especially special artistic people, unique people, you know, need nurturing and loving and caring for. And it's a challenge that I couldn't turn aside at the time, you know, because apart from the physical attraction, the mental attraction was tremendous.
Now, when you were with John and you found that you were expecting Julian, that's when you got married. Do you think you would have married him had you not have been pregnant?
Probably not. You know, I have to be totally honest about this, because I would have gone, I would hopefully have become an art teacher, which is what I was training for. And I don't know what on earth would have happened to John. I mean, you know, life is full of fateful happenings. Meeting Brian, who actually, without Brian, they would not have made it.
The manager
Yes,
at the time,
of course.
who led them to all that
But
fame.
without actually bumping into Brian or Brian bumping into them, and that wouldn't have happened.
How did you feel about Brian? Because Brian was very mindful of the boys, one top image and all the rest of it. And having a woman married was not part of his picture.
quite fit,
So
was
you
it?
had to kind of
Yes, but
hide in the background.
but in those days that was the case anyway, because I think with most managers, you didn't read like you do today in the press about families and children and background. In fact, it was derogatory to their image in those days. So, of course, I mean, if you're brought up with that, if you're also brought up with a northern male chauvinist attitude, you know, it's nothing's new. It's only as you grow up and as, of course, the 60s came about, you know, the liberation happened.
That you're learning how to cope with the liberation
Yes,
process.
but during that time, you know, you accepted it.
But having children anyways can be pretty hard work. So to have a baby, and that's when everything took off for the Beatles, how easy was it, your relationship, yours with John?
It was difficult, mainly because in the film clip before, you know, Love Me Do came was a hit just as I was pregnant with Julian. From that moment, from the day, in fact, John wasn't there at Julian's birth, he was on tour.
So it exploded.
It totally exploded, and no two people, I think, have survived it. Very few do.
You did survive it for a while, but then along came the drug scene. You were talking about the liberation, that was all part of it. John got involved in that. And that's really when that was sort of the beginning of the end.
Yes, it was hated. Hate really was where they were, but it was hated. I was the first to go in this whole group. I mean, we had the most wonderful kind of all of us. We were a very, very special group at that time. But the bubble had to burst, it really did. And it came about by pressures from outside, taking away from what we had as a nucleus. And eventually they all had to grow up, including myself. You know, you can't live that sort of fairy tale life forever.
And of course, what happened afterwards was very public. The fact that you were divorced and that he married Yoko Ono. His death, how did you hear about it first? Well, I guess like most of us through...
Well, I was staying with Maureen Starkey, who was then at that time divorced from Ringo, and she lived in London. And I was visiting, and it was during the night. I stayed the night, and I was living in North Wales at the time. And Ringo phoned from New York because he heard the news first. He phoned Maureen, and Maureen came up to my room to tell me in the middle of the night. And then it was, you know, all hell let loose after that. It was horrendous.
I mean, to lose him in the first place to somebody else, that's something a lot of women, when that happens, they find it very difficult. But to lose him forever...
I think Julian, your son, was developing that relationship with him at that time.
It was harder for Julian because he was just coming up to teenage years, you know, 17. I'm thinking about it. I lost my father when I was 17. John lost his mother when he was 17. And now Julian loses his father for a second time.
Do you ever feel with Julian? I look at him sometimes. He sounds like his dad. Do you ever get that reincarnation?
Yes, not at this moment. No, I'm not denying. Yes, I know. Yes, well, obviously, the genes were right for Julian.
Do you still love the memory of your life with John?
The summary of my life, you know, to survive in life. There were so many different areas. There's the tragic side and there's the positive side. And I always hopefully look on the positive side of it. And I enjoy and probably I've had one of the most fantastic lives that you could possibly choose, or fate chooses
well, you're
for
just
you.
starting again now.
Yes,
on this singing
That's
career.
it, isn't it? Yeah, I know.
I mean, you can explode onto the scene tomorrow, so I'm glad we caught you just before then. It has been a tremendous honour. I have been a Beatles fan for 4 days. Great to meet you.
Thank you for this. Lovely to meet you.
Now, we're taking a break. Join us in a couple of minutes for today's phone-in on Pets with Vet Michael Payne. See you then.